So for further reading, other sources that you may want to look at are two studies by Consolo and colleagues. The first was a publication for the American Association of Psychologists, and the second a study into how climate scientists deal with these issues themselves. And then Wu et al. Is a call on how to on further research, especially among young people with respect to climate anxiety. It also provides some links to the article by Piccola also provides some links to further tools like this bicycle model that is used in Finnish environmental education. It lists the Good Grief network where you can find more information. There's a project Inside Out. Well, yeah, and I wanted to name conservation optimism as another source to follow. A more optimistic take on conservation news. Okay, so I also included this study from +1 by Verplanken and Roy on habitual worrying. Verplanken and Roy expressed the idea that this habitual worrying may be in some cases turn pathological, and this so that the habitual worrying becomes dysfunctional, and they ask themselves, is this also the case for worrying about the climate, and expect that this may be less so because the ecological worries are externally focused. Then my reason for including it was more to because of the different measures they use in their study. So for so these may be useful tools in case you wish to study mental health issues around climate change yourself. The analysis, they linked it to a table of correlations where the authors show that habitual ecological worrying seems to be part of a green identity in the sense that it is both related to environmental attitudes and pro-environmental behaviors, but not to pathological worries. So the other reading, ecological grief, as mentioned, this ecological grief seems to be disenfranchised in the sense that it is often not publicly acknowledged, and it may take several forms, or it includes different types of grief, where the authors give examples from their study in the north of Canada with an Inuit culture, and examples from Australia of farmers that are affected by climate change in the form of increasing levels of dust. Many of the responses that are listed there really speak more towards the respondents' their own personal loss. I thought it was nice to also give some examples of physical ecological loss experienced by people that speaks less directly to their private losses. So for anyone that hasn't seen the documentary Chasing Coral, it shows a group of researchers that try to capture a time lapse of coral bleaching, and over the process you see how the different researchers are struggling with their findings or their work. Other possibilities of grief speak to the loss of identity or loss of environmental knowledge, and the example that was perhaps most clear here is that farmers that lose their applicability of their normal practices can also in this lose their identity as good stewards of their lands. As for some slight positive notion of ecological grief, the authors also mentioned that it potentially has recreating capabilities once we start engaging with this ecological grief. As a final reflection that the authors offer is that ecological grief may also be the price that we pay for love. So in a way, I thought this was another nice angle to grief. Perhaps this makes it a little bit more acceptable to some.